Da sind wir wieder. Kamera ist eingestellt, jawohl. Hallo. Willkommen zum zweiten Teil vom Stanley Parable. Gerade eben habe ich ein Telefonat zum Vatertag gehabt mit meinem Vater, der sich vielleicht oder vielleicht auch nicht die nächsten Tage zusammen mit meiner Mom das Video angucken wird, das erste, weil ich ihm von diesem Spiel erzählt habe. Und solltest du dieses zweite Video auch gucken, dann nochmal alles Gute zum Vatertag, lieber Vater. Auch wenn du ihn nicht so feierst, und genießt deine Pizza, die hoffentlich nicht kalt ist mittlerweile. Und genau, jetzt weiß die ganze Welt, die 5 Zuschauer, die mir irgendwann mal zuschauen werden im Laufe der Zeit, wissen, dass du heute Abend Pizza gegessen hast. Ich hoffe, das ist nicht so viel Information für heute Abend. Ich musste gerade schon wieder lachen, denn das Spiel hat schon wieder sehr schön angefangen. Ich habe ja beim letzten Mal erzählt, dass man die Uhrzeit einstellen konnte. Ich habe vor ein paar Tagen, wollte ich schon mal streamen, habe das Spiel schon gestartet gehabt, aber hatte dann tierische Kopfschmerzen, habe es dann doch gelassen. Habe ich auch die Uhrzeit eingestellt, wo das Spiel mich dann ganz nett gefragt hat, hey, ist es denn die korrekte Uhrzeit, die du eingestellt hast? Und wir haben festgestellt, dass du immer so korrekt deine Uhrzeit einstellst. Das nächste Mal darfst du deine Lieblingsuhrzeit einstellen. Und jetzt habe ich wieder die richtige Uhrzeit eingestellt und dann hat mich das Spiel wieder gefragt, ob es denn diesmal die korrekte war und nicht meine Lieblingsuhrzeit. Und dann hat es gesagt, hey, ich finde, es ist so toll, dass ich hier die korrekte Uhrzeit eingebe, weil die meisten das halt nicht machen. Und wenn ich das nächste Mal das Spiel starte, dann werden sie neue Regler einbauen, einfach nur, weil sie so gerne Regeln in das Spiel einbauen. Super geil, geile Idee, total strange, total abgedreht, aber ich finde es einfach mega witzig. Dieses Durchbrechen der 4. Mauer, the fourth wall, wie man so schön sagt, was wir alle aus dem Superfilm Deadpool auch kennen. Ja, bin mal gespannt, wie es beim nächsten Mal ist. Eigentlich sollte ich das Spiel jetzt mal kurz abbrechen, nochmal neu starten, nur um es rauszufinden, aber mache ich nicht. Was ich festgestellt habe, ist, das Spiel speichert nicht. Das heißt, ich fange jetzt prinzipiell wieder bei 0 an. Was aber ja nichts bedeutet, da ich ja im Spiel sowieso die ganze Zeit wieder am Start anfange und daher ist bei 0 anfangen nichts Dramatisches. Wir gehen einen neuen Weg und sind mal gespannt der Dinge, die da kommen. Wir lassen das Intro nochmal laufen, weil ich es so schön finde.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Trophäe erhalten, willkommen zurück. Yay, wir sind wieder da. Und Trophäe erhalten, erhalte deine erste Trophäe. Okay, ich habe jetzt schon wieder Spaß. Lass mich mal ganz kurz meine Einstellung checken. Ich habe festgestellt, mein Mikro war das letzte Mal zu laut. Und, oh Gott, wo gucke ich denn das am besten? Da, Mikro. Mikropegel. Ganz kurz. Ja. So, ich denke, jetzt müsste es passen. Okay, ich glaube, jetzt müsste es passen. Ich hoffe, es müsste passen. Ich bin nicht so gut im Streamen. Guckt euch die professionellen Leute an, wenn ihr professionelles Zeug wollt. Bei mir gibt es nur Standardzeug. Gut, hier sind wir. Wir starten. Wir kennen das ja alles schon. Meine Ablage ist leer. Hier, habe vieles abgearbeitet. Also Für dringende Ablage ist noch was drin und in der halbdringend auch. Und meine Bleistifte sind sortiert. Ich habe keinen Kaffee mehr, das ist immer schlecht. Gut.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ha. Da wir das letzte Mal schon zu Genüge die rechte Tür gespammt haben, machen wir heute mal die linke weiter. Mal gucken, wo sie hinführt. Ja, hier hat sich nichts geändert. Ich weiß auch nicht, ob das Spiel sich gemerkt hat, was ich das letzte Mal alles gemacht habe. Wäre natürlich witzig, aber ich glaube es halt fast nicht. Also, das letzte Mal sind wir rechts rumgelaufen. Und es war grandios witzig, was rechts abgegangen ist. Jetzt gehen wir links rum. Hören auf den Erzähler.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Hier waren wir auch schon mal.
Disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ja, genau. Wir sind aber nicht abgegangen, wir sind down gegangen. Das letzte Mal. Warum gehen die Türen automatisch zu? Das passt nicht.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ich überlege gerade, haben wir unten alles gemacht das letzte Mal? Ich denke schon. Ah, gucken wir noch mal. Komm, gucken wir noch mal. Ah, das war hier mit dem Auto. Ja. Hier war die Endlosschleife. Genau. Also, gehen wir ab. Wir wollen ja mehr rausfinden. So, ich habe die Kamera ein bisschen feiner eingestellt, dass ich mich etwas schneller drehe. So, das sieht schön aus. So was gefällt mir. Das Exit Bathroom. Oh, da kommt man sogar rein. To be rich? Is it a crime? To commit crimes? Isn't it rich? What a life it would be to have to pick just one. Okay. Extreme Bathrooms. Und die Time. Es gibt kein Spiegelbild. Wie in den vielen Videospielen, wie ich schon mitbekommen habe. Und es ist ein sehr schönes Badezimmer. Also nichts Besonderes für ein Executive, finde ich jetzt nicht so spektakulär. Aber ist okay. So. Das sieht mir nach dem Bossraum aus. Der Sekretär ist auch nicht da. Computer ist runtergefahren, der hat schon Feierabend. Und es ist die Business Time. Anrufe gibt es auch keine, das ist auch schon mal gut. Was haben wir hier? Eine verschlossene Tür. Okay. Der Chef.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Und ich höre ja den Erzähler auch nicht, also weiß ich es natürlich auch nicht. Ein Chianti, das ist der Wein, den Hannibal Lecter so gern getrunken hat. Er genoss seine Leber.
Sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ich habe noch nicht mal das Device gefunden, doch da rechts hinten ist es. Ich will Klavier spielen. Wieso klingt das Klavier wie ein Computer?
2845.
Ja, ist ja gut. Lass mir kurz mal Zeit, mich umzugucken. Das sind schöne Bücher. Gefällt mir gut. Ein Kamin. Ich glaube, er hatte noch eine Sitzung, weil es sind noch Gläser auf dem Tisch. Hier kann ich nichts machen. Nö.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell
zu lange
of the
gebraucht.
story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo. Nein, ich gehe da aber immer noch nicht rein. Ich will wissen, ob hier noch irgendwas Cooles ist. Ah, hier ist der Code. Oh, falscher Code. Schade. Warum hat jemand ein Bild von einem Schlipsträger da? Was steht da? I am the most X. Pensive Boss. Ah ja, okay. Cool. Was kann ich nicht lesen? Aha. Jetzt wird's ein bisschen creepy. Die Stimmung ist auch ein bisschen creepy. Mhm. Das geht down. Ach, vielleicht hätte ich auch hochdrücken können. Egal. Jetzt sind wir schon auf dem Weg nach unten.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Oh. Aufzug kaputt. Ah, aber ich kann wieder hochfahren.
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Yeah. Why do you do it? Just for fun. Jetzt gehen wir noch mal da rein. Einfach nur, um den Erzähler zu ärgern.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have. An incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
Ach, ich liebe den Erzähler. Der ist gut. Der ist echt gut. Ich kann immer noch nichts machen. Egal. Kann ich die Tür öffnen? Nein. Okay, wir gehen runter. Jetzt gehen wir doch wieder runter. Jetzt drücken wir mal nach oben.
Incredible.
Ja, geht nicht. Okay, geht nur runter.
Back into the elevator and going down again.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Tja. Das ist, weil
Surely
Stanley...
this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he? Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Aber da steht Escape. Ich gehe in Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Okay. Mal gucken, wie violent.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Oh ja. Es ist creepy. Okay. Hui! Oh, er fällt immer noch. Ha, ich lebe noch. Siehst du? Haha. Oh.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyelids from a blind man.
Ja gut,
And so he
das ist keine Überraschung.
and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Bye bye.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Hä? Okay.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Jetzt hat jemand anderes übernommen.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Mhm. Das Gefühl hatte ich nämlich auch. Hier habe ich wohl angefangen. Ja, hier war der Start. Dann bin ich hier, Büro, 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 Büro. Und das sind einfach nur die vorgefertigten Wege. Bis hierhin. Und hier begann dann meine Reise ins Unergründliche. Und hier ist mein Computer. Das ist ein richtig schöner Raum. Der gefällt mir. Landschaftsgemälde. Wieso ist das auf Deutsch? Das Spiel ist auf Englisch. Ich glaube, ich hätte es auf Deutsch einstellen können. Weiß gerade gar nicht mehr. Das Büro. Zimmer 01, 02, 03. Aber da das ja keine Türen sind. Ein Museum, gefällt mir. Die 2 offenen Türen waren der erste konkrete Teil des Stanley Parable Designs. Als dieser Raum erstellt worden war, entwickelt sich der Rest des Spiels als eine Erweiterung davon, eine Erkundung des Widerspruchs, den dieser Raum darstellte. Starten wir mal von Anfang. Was steht hier? Bürogrundriss. Dieser Plan zeigt das Büro vom Spielanfang. Der Weg von Stanleys Büro zu den beiden Türen war der erste Teil des Spiels, der gebaut wurde. Im Laufe der Entwicklung wurden Abschnitte hinzugefügt und verändert, aber der Kerngrundriss ist fast identisch zum ersten Durchlauf. Gang. Es war wichtig, das Spieltempo in diesem ersten Abschnitt richtig einzustellen. Dieser Korridor wurde verschoben und verändert, um sicherzustellen, dass der Spieler die beiden Türen in einer guten Zeit erreicht. Ja. Und dann eben hier die 2 Türen. Was haben wir hier? Knopfgeräusche. Eine Auswahl an Geräuschen, die im gesamten Spiel beim Drücken von Knöpfen verwendet werden. Jedes Geräusch ist eine Mischung aus einem Tastaturanschlag und einem künstlichen Ton. Spannend. Ich finde es wirklich spannend, ich finde es wirklich cool. Die Bürocomputer. Es gibt die Installation, es gibt die Solitär und es gibt die Employee Database. Und die Credits. Also, ich gebe jetzt Zeit, dass ihr kurz die Credits angucken könnt. Ihr könnt ja auch das Video stoppen zwischendrin, um das mal euch durchzulesen. Weil, ohne zu wissen, wie das Spiel ausgeht und ob es überhaupt ausgeht, finde ich Hut ab, ganz, ganz großes Lob an die Macher. Denn allein die Idee dahinter, so ein Spiel zu machen, ist schon mal genial. Genial. Also ich finde es bombastisch. Deswegen würdigen wir die Credits. Gut gemacht, Jungs und Mädels. Und andere. Muss man auch heutzutage auch noch sagen. Okay, hier geht's nach oben. Dann gucken wir mal auf den anderen Raum. Geht's auch nach oben, okay. Das Büro. 431 bis 436. Der Aufzug, der Wartungsraum. Eine erste Version des Wartungsraums. Da haben sie dann noch ein bisschen Zeug reingestellt, Kisten und so Sachen. Das ist jetzt wirklich einfach nur das Spiel, wie es gemacht wurde. Mega cool. Schlachtfeld. Schon früh in der Entwicklung haben wir am Ende entworfen, bei dem Stanley auf einem Schlachtfeld gegen Aliens kämpft. Was? Das Actionspiel soll mit dem Krieg gegen den Erzähler führen. Kurz nachdem wir mit der Entwicklung begonnen hatten, merkten wir, dass das viel zu witzig und zu kurz gedacht war für den Charakter des Spiels. Außerdem wurde es manche Leute so interpretiert, dass das Spiel über Leute lustig macht, die Ego-Shooter mögen, was nicht unsere Absicht war. Das wäre der Wahnsinn gewesen. Alien Base. Ja, wäre voll witzig. Aber klingt so, als hätten sie es nicht reingebracht. Okay. Ja, verschiedene Faktoren. Geld, das aus dem Boden strömt, das habe ich aber nicht gesehen. Das ist ja mein Büro. Oder? Doch, das ist meins. Geld. Erzähler-E-Mails. Nach dem zweiten Trailer haben wir die Leute darum gebeten, dem Erzähler Fragen per E-Mail zu schicken. Obwohl wir diese für weitere Promomaterial eingeplant hatten, haben wir keine perfekten Anwendungen dafür gefunden. Hier sind einige dieser E-Mails. From Like Harris. Hi, Mr. Narrator Guy. I have a question for you. Sir, and it is? Schade. Final warning. There is a skeleton inside of you. There are more skeletons in this world than humans. Thanks and goodbye. Okay, Steph. A question brought forth by the intense passion of my soul. Am I Stanley? Are you spying on me? I donate. Why? How? From Quackster. Will the game feature capybaras? Ich habe absolut keine Ahnung, was das sein soll. Aber klingt interessant. Dear Narrator, how do you stay in shape? Sincerely, Michael the Rock Martin. Alex. Oh. Subject gay. Are you gay? Ding dong. Oh, das kann ich jetzt nicht. Dear Narrator, I appreciate the previous Stanley Games work for art standalone title. I appreciate the credit given to art, which is why I would like to, however, have some idea. God. Will the Stanley have infinite quests? How many endings? If Stanley is really good to let me go shopping, I hope it will have a fine selection of desert boots. Cameron. Oh, Cameron. How do you make a JRPG? How do you make the worst game ever? What is the difference between a duck? From Michael M. How is the game going? I hope it's a good or better than the first one. From a cool man. Are you a rock? Otto Tempio. Ich würde gerne einfach weitermachen, aber gleichzeitig bin ich neugierig, was noch so geschrieben wurde. What is the strange number? Could you tell me the significance of the number 11128100 is? Interessant. Was ist das für eine Nummer? Well, the thing I want to know is, what would you do if Stanley entered any other rooms? Sergei Medvedko. For instance, on a scale Max earns to Salvador Dali, how surreal will this game be? Were you born with a magnificent voice, or did you bargain with a magician to receive it? And finally, the most important question, what is Stanley's last name? Congratulations! In the line with the principal. Okay, spam mail. Greetings. I want to tell you, like Stanley Parable much lines. Okay. Noch ganz kurz, dann könnt ihr euch das durchlesen. Ich lese es mir vielleicht im Nachhinein auch noch durch. Aber falls es tatsächlich immer weitergeht, dann ja, es geht, glaube ich, immer weiter. Hat bestimmt ein Ende, aber es würde sehr lange gehen. Eine erste Vision der Lounge. Der Wohnungstimer. In einer frühen Version der Entscheidung, die zum Apartmentende geführt hat, hat ein Timer in 15 Sekunden Zeit, Hilfe zu gehen. Wenn man nicht in Zielung ist, hat man zu einem anderen hinzufügen. Okay. Der Lastenaufzug sollte immer die Wahl bieten, auf dem Weg zu bleiben. Und übrigens, den Wohnungstimer hatten wir schon das letzte Mal. Aber an Telefon kann ich mich gar nicht erinnern. War da ein Telefon? Der Timer war nicht da, aber das sagen sie ja. Die zweite Version ist funktional, die gleiche wie im finalen Spiel, aber wir wollten, dass es mehr wie ein Ort ist, in dem tatsächlich Fracht gelagert wird. Ja, so ein bisschen. Sieht trotzdem ziemlich abgespaced aus. Der Lastenaufzug sollte immer die Wahl bieten, auf den Weg zu bleiben oder auf einen anderen Weg zu springen. Nach dieser ersten Version entschieden wir, dass wir auch die Option wollten, das Spiel in den Tod zu stürzen. Ja, stimmt. Das hätte ich auch noch machen können. Das habe ich noch nicht gemacht. Wenn ich auf diesem Aufzug war. Ich glaube, von dem konnte ich nämlich runterspringen. Das habe ich das letzte Mal nämlich schon gedacht, aber habe es nicht gemacht gehabt. Okay, kommt auf die Liste. Oh Gott, die geht ja auch immer weiter. Zending-Hebel. Diese Hebel waren ursprünglich ein Teil von Zending. Das Spiel sollte an einem Hebel ziehen und der Erzähler sollte beschreiben, an welche Farbe er gezogen hat. Kann nicht dran ziehen. Ich will Hebel ziehen. Was haben wir hier? Trailer. Wir haben im Laufe des Spiels 4 große Teaser-Trailer produziert, die alles über den Geist des Spiels vermitteln sollten. Dies ist der erste veröffentlicht im Mai 2012. Es zeigt eine Reihe von kaputten Räumen und die Stimme des Erzählers, der den Zuschauer mitteilt, dass er eine neue Version von The Stanley Parable repariert. Ich höre keinen Ton. Schade. Aber das ist so still, das ist echt creepy. Sending-Modell. Das Sending durchlief viele Anpassungen. Dieser Raum zeigt die 4. Version des Endes und wir dachten, es sei vollständig beschlossen, aber kurz vor der Veröffentlichung es zu ändern. Ach, ist das... Nee, das ist aber nicht dieses Zimmer, in dem ich auch war. Nö, vor allem gab es da keine Knöpfe. The game is now paused. Das Pause-Menü. Lange Zeit hatten wir ein Ende, das nur endet, wenn der Spieler aus dem Pause-Menü neu startet. Leider haben das sehr wenig Spieler erkannt, was für alle frustrierend war. Okay. Diese Screen zeigt eine erste Version des Endes, das als Sending bekannt ist und das letztendlich ausgeschnitten mit einem anderen Teil zusammengefügt ist. Mhm. Okay. Was haben wir noch so? Oh, da ist ein Exit. Es ist so verdammt still, dass man so erschrickt, wenn da bewegt sich was. Eine Lampe. Das ist mal ein cooler Monitor. Wesentlich moderner als die alten Dinger, die überall rumstehen. Ne? Ah, ich will drücken. Das Countdown in das Freiheitsende. Es sind lauter Spoiler hier, es werden lauter Enden erwähnt. Aber okay, egal. Ich weiß ja nicht wie und wo und was. Eine Zeit lang konnte der Aufzug im Monitorraum nach oben und nach unten fahren. Mit Freiheit oben und unten hat dann unten. Das haben wir aufgegeben, weil die Spieler es zu schwierig fanden, sich zu merken, was oben und was unten war. Da habe ich dann die beiden Endungen zusammengelegt. Okay. Hier geht's noch weiter hoch. Und da geht's zu einem Exit. Ich kann leider nicht schneller laufen, sonst würde ich auch ein bisschen sprinten. Ich glaube, das ist die andere Seite des Raumes. Ja, genau, von dem Raum hier. Muss man auch noch angucken. Die Lounge. Also wir rushen jetzt ein bisschen durch. Was haben wir hier? Key and Writing. Die Stimme ist jetzt im Verlauf der zwei Jahre.
Stanley pushed the big red button. Stanley stood on the snow. He pushed the number 6. Stanley walked over the bridge. Stanley pushed the number 6. Then he pushed the number 8. Then he pushed the number 8. And finally, he pushed the number 9. The big red button.
Die Stimme ist immer woanders.
I don't know. Well, in that case, I'll tell you what. You win. Congratulations. You did it. I know you put in a lot of hard work and it really paid off, so good job.
Die Szene hatten wir schon. Okay, das ist irgendwie noch creepier, wenn man den Typen jetzt nur dort reden hört. So sinnlos und eine Uhr. Bürouhr. Okay. Zeigt dir zufällig die Uhrzeit an, die ich eingestellt habe? Nee, leider nicht. Ich dachte für einen kurzen Moment. Okay. Wo waren wir jetzt? Hier waren wir jetzt. Was noch darüber? Spiegeldesign-Modell, okay. Hier waren wir hier auch. Ja, hier war. Ja, klar. Das habe ich nur übersehen. Das Büro. 427, das ist mein Platz. Guck mal hier, aber ich habe gar nicht so eine coole Tasse. Von links nach rechts, die Entwicklung von Stanleys Büro im Laufe der Zeit. Der erste wurde im November 2011 erstellt, der zweite im März 2012 und das dritte im Februar 2013. Erste, zweite, das ist schon sehr ähnlich. Und das ist der Finale, mit dem haben wir gestartet. Aber die haben noch die Farbe geändert. Wir haben nämlich farbige Dingsbums. Hier, Ablagen. Aber ansonsten ist es ziemlich identisch, ja. Vielleicht aber auch, weil wir Stanley Ultra Deluxe Version spielen. Keine Ahnung. Gut, haben wir hier uns alles angekriegt, wa? Dann gehen wir mal zum Exit Point.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Wir ziehen den Hebel.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Mein Controller vibriert.
Listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail.
Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game.
As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice.
Okay, ich mach das noch.
Don't choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Das mit der PlayStation mache ich noch. Ich finde es auch cool, dass das Ding weiß, dass es die PlayStation ist. Ich meine, ist nicht groß zum Programmieren, aber sie hätten auch sagen können, schalte deine Konsole aus oder was auch immer. Okay, jetzt sind wir wieder hier. Let's start again. Also, wir müssen noch mal den rechten Weg gehen. Wir müssen ich muss das mit der Konsole machen, das mache ich aber ohne Stream, weil das ist einfach blöd mit Stream, da muss ich den Stream ja quasi abbrechen, wenn ich die Konsole runterfahre, ist ja doof. Aber ich bin neugierig, ob das Spiel das rafft und ob es dann sagt, du hast hier abgeschalten. Ja, da bin ich auf jeden Fall wunderfützig noch. Cool. Cool.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Yeah,
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Gut, wir gehen jetzt zur rechten. Und checken mal noch
This
ab.
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Schöner Raum.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nö, ich will wissen, was hier noch ist, wenn ich da runterjump.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
So, weil ich will nämlich zum einen noch wissen, was da ist, wenn ich da runterjump. Und was passiert, wenn ich da runterjump? Aber gut, wenn ich da runterjump, bin ich vermutlich einfach nur tot. Das ist nämlich ziemlich tief. Ich kann meine Füße nicht sehen, aber das hat er mir im letzten Spiel auch schon gesagt. Gibt es einen sichereren Weg? Irgendwo was, worauf ich landen kann? Ja. Haha! Was haben wir? Oh, was haben wir hier? Oh.
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun
das ist creepy.
so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far.
Ruhe.
You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording?
Yep.
It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Okay, jetzt sind wir wieder hier. Sorry, narrator.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Aber cool, jetzt haben wir noch einen Nebengang gefunden.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Genau.
Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Okay, nochmal. Ich will nur wissen, wenn ich da... So. Gibt es jetzt noch einen Weg weiter runter? Ich habe vielleicht auf dem Kran... nicht Kran, Stapler. Yep.
But in his eagerness to prove that he's in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Danke. Ist sowieso täglich grüßt das Murmeltier. Ich werde ja dauernd wiedergeboren. Ich erlebe den
All of
seltenen
his
Moment
co-workers were
wieder.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Am besten gefallen hat mir bisher das mit der Linie. Das letzte Mal. Die gelbe Linie, die war
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ja, ich will aber da lang.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years
Da
ago.
rechts will ich noch rein.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone... Really? Who's in the middle of something? Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
Yep.
Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Nein. Ich will auch gar nicht wissen, wie.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Warum? Ich habe keine Chipkarte. Mist. Nein.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Das klingt... Ist das Monty Python? Ich glaube Monty Python. Das klingt wie ein Erzähler von einem Monty Python-Film. Ich weiß nur nicht von welchem. Nein.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see?
Kommt mir
There's
bekannt
nothing
vor.
here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
Yeah.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option.
Oh.
This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Um ihn zu ärgern, würde ich jetzt gerne nochmal diesen Weg nehmen. Wenn ich jetzt den Weg nehme und nochmal zu den Türen komme und nochmal alles genau so mache, kommen wir sowieso nochmal hierher. Das mache ich jetzt. Aha.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Ja.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door?
Ich habe nicht mal die dritte Tür genommen.
It's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Mhm. Mhm. Naja, die 7 Stunden kommen aber nicht hin. So lange bin ich noch nicht online. Ich habe das erste Mal eine Stunde gespielt und jetzt spiele ich, keine Ahnung, 3/4 Stunde. Dein Rat ist offline. Jetzt nehmen wir mal die rechte Tür. Komm, jetzt nehmen wir es.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Ich habe die Frage jetzt irgendwie verpasst. Sieht aus wie da, wo ich gerade eben stand. Hallo. Hallo. Das wäre strange, wenn ich mich da drüben jetzt selber sehen würde. Das wäre witzig. Kannst du die Frage bitte nochmal wiederholen? Ich sag mal 3.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting.
Cool.
You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
Nein.
Perfect. Let me
Let's
boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Das wäre natürlich geil. Oh. Noch dazu so nervig. Du Penner, ich lasse es ins Feuer gehen. Das ist viel zu nervig. Boah. Ja.
You heartless bastard.
Ja.
Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley?
What's our backstory?
What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley.
Yeah.
It seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Auf jeden Fall eine schöne Landschaft. Schön. Oh. Grafisch der Wahnsinn. Also 2022, das merkt man gleich. Oh, das hätte ich eine Waffe, könnte ich drauf schießen. Dann wird es explodieren. Aha. Hat ein bisschen was von Forest.
No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly, block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
Jetzt habe ich geschafft.
You wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. Out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
Ich will das Spiel weiterspielen.
Something with walls.
Aber ich will auch Stanley
Something with
weiterspielen.
nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is
Rocket
exactly
League.
what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to
Sag
run
mir
around
irgendwas.
in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Ha, ich krieg's hin. Herausforderung angenommen. Challenge accepted.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see.
Keine Ahnung, ich
There
kann
are
das
lots
Spiel
of
nicht.
cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here.
Ach,
Is
ist
game
das? Ah, das
sports
ist das
ball?
Bumper-Ding.
Stanley, I
Im
think
Auto.
it's sports ball. Oh,
Fußball mit
what
Autos.
fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Der ist echt beleidigt. Finde ich gut. Und jetzt? Hey, so. Haha. Ho. Spielt ab zu Schäfer. Schäfer nach innen geblankt. Kopfball abgewehrt. Das Mittel. Du musst dir ranschießen. Ranschießen. Tor. Oh, ich kann da runter.
Are you doing?
Juhu.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley.
Also irgendwie geht's hier nirgends weiter. Also schon, aber ich weiß nicht, ob ich da durchlaufen kann durch die Dunkelheit. Hat jemand mal eine Taschenlampe? Fling Cabinets. Ich bin behind the scenes. Wir laufen jetzt mal darüber, da sehe ich zumindest meine Mauer. Nein, geht nicht. Und jetzt sind wir in einem alten Büro. Das sieht aus wie unser Büro, nur alt. Und ungenutzt und kaputt. Hm. 427. Ich möchte betonen an der Stelle, dass ich noch nicht einmal das Spiel neu gestartet habe, selber. Bisher hat immer der Erzähler mein Spiel neu gestartet. Okay.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. very soon. I can wait.
Me too. No appointments today. Nothing to be at. Okay. Okay. Jetzt sind wir wieder hier. Wir sind noch nicht die rote Tür gelaufen. Das machen wir jetzt.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Egal. Türen schließen sich nicht. New Content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Ah, da kann ich nicht hin. Wir haben was Neues. Oh nein, das erinnert mich wieder an die Presse von vorhin. Werden wir wieder zerquetscht werden? Nein, oder? Vielleicht. Wer weiß. Behind the scenes. Das Spiel ist der Hammer.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Also das ist garantiert neu, weil das Ultra Deluxe ja tatsächlich erst später kam.
So far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Or it's just an elevator.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, here we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Ich schmecke den Sarkasmus in seiner
I have to
Stimme.
say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Der Content. The Jump Circle.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Ha! Ich kann jetzt springen. Wird euch schwindelig? Mir auch. Oh, du kannst nicht springen. Trophäe erhalten. Okay. Das war witzig. Nicht. Doch, natürlich war es witzig. Allein die Idee, einfach nur was Sinnloses reinzumachen, finde ich mega witzig. Ja, hopefully.
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Now, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more.
Es gäbe garantiert jemand, dem das mögen würde.
I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Oh, ich mal hinsetzen? Nein. Keine Pause für Stanley.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. They could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Don't call me friend. Ja. Ist schon mal anders. Doch was anderes. Tada. Was zum Herzen? Das ist mein Flur.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Das Problem ist, es geht ja noch weiter. Ich muss ja alles... Oder das geht wieder zurück ins Büro. Ja, komm. Jetzt hören wir mal auf ihn. Ich bin neugierig. Kaffeenut. Ich habe das Gefühl, dass wir werden bestraft, dass wir ihnen vertrauen. Aber ist mir egal. Ich mag den Erzähler.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Wow. Schön, gefällt mir. Das gefällt mir schon mal. Haha, geil.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Also wer das Spiel nicht mag, das ist... Der hat keinen Humor, der hat keinen Geschmack, der weiß nicht, was cool ist. Das ist... so geil. Diese Ideen. Weißt du, diese Ideen. Wie kommt man auf sowas?
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
British Academy of Films and Television Arts. Awarded to irgendwas Strawley. Stanley Parable. Last of Us. Ach ja, klar. Boah, Last of Us. Ultra geiles Game. Audience Award. The Stanley Parable. Dieses Spiel hat so viel Liebe und Einfallsreichtum drin. Also wenn man das nicht würdigt, ich weiß auch nicht. Smile, because it happened. Trip down memory lane. Ich kann nichts drücken, ich kann nichts aktivieren. Das ist einfach nur zum Angucken. Eine $1-Note. United States of America. Sieht relativ echt aus. Darf man ja wahrscheinlich auch spielen zumindest. Begin the demo. Go outside. Unachievable. Ach, das sind die Trophäen wahrscheinlich. Don't play for 5 years. It's possible to get this achievement. Cool. Nominee, nominee, nominee. Just nominated. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Deals tough choices. Ein Klavier. Und jetzt singt man auch noch. In loving memory, Little Stanley. Ein Hamster. Oh. Hi Stanley. Ich bin jetzt gerade relativ schweigsam, weil ich das echt genieße.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Ich will die Musik nochmal hören. Maintenance. Ich muss niesen. Pardon. Da kommt noch mal einer. Ich bitte um Verzeihung. Person of the Year. Stanley. Das sieht fast aus wie Minecraft. Oh, schönes Auto. Sieht ein bisschen aus wie mein Lieblingsauto. 1967er Chevy Impala. Vielleicht ist es sogar einer, aber so gut kenne ich mich jetzt mit Autos nicht aus, um das zu erkennen. Aber es hat eine gewisse Ähnlichkeit. Die Scheinwerfer sind am Arsch. The Stanley Parable.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Das ist dieselbe Tür. Da bin ich doch reingekommen. The serious room. Mhm. Time to get serious.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Mhm. Oh. Nicht mehr ganz so schön.
No, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Not recommended.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Die negativen Reviews. Ich sag gar nichts. Weil ich würde es jetzt gerade einfach nur noch weiter loben. Weil das Spiel überrascht halt mit dem nächsten. Das hätte jetzt gepasst hier und dann wäre wieder ein neuer Start. Kein Mensch hätte gesagt, oh, da fehlt mir was. Aber jetzt sehe ich das, denke mir, klar, geil, negative Rezension. Haut sie rein. Macht dein eigenes Spiel schlecht. Mega witzig.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
It is. Don't get yourself down. Guck mal, sogar mehr.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
Nein! Das wäre das ganze Spiel ja kacke.
Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
I don't want one.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No.
Oh.
The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story,
I will listen.
And the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. But the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime.
Never a moment before lunchtime.
It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah.
I won't skip.
We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah. We've eaten too much.
Ich glaube, ausnahmsweise muss ich tatsächlich diese Taste drücken, weil er wiederholt sich wirklich die ganze Zeit.
Elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, wir drücken. Wir drücken. Aber wir tun es nicht gerne, weil ich höre ihm gerne zu. So.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, Then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your Greek gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. See, now you've gotten me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look, I have a method for exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor. Okay. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. 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 Where do all the treaters go? They manifest right here. Everywhere I go and see the others standing near. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. And so on, so on and on and on and on and on and on it goes. Oh, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. Okay. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto.
Ja, wir drehen uns im Kreis, ich weiß. Diesmal machen wir es ein bisschen schneller.
Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, whether they'll edit the rating of their pressurized gas review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on how exactly pressurized gas works. Perhaps that would have been a smart thing to check on before I went on about this whole exercise of making
Wir sind hier schon eine ganze Weile.
Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is who runs pressurized gas will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with pressurized gas altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial. From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time. The additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you were before. If there is any message to be taken from the Stanley Parable,
Zieh mir mal meine Schuhe ausnehmen. Die werden gerade ein bisschen unbequem.
A privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, There is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future. Wow. Now, Stanley, that's a review. It's perfect. It's the perfect review. It's the review I've always dreamed of receiving. I have to read it again. It's simply too wonderful. I have to experience this just one more time. From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time. The additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you were before. If there is any message to be taken from the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, it is this. What a fortune, a privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, there is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future. Wow. Now, Stanley, that's a review. It's perfect. It's the perfect review. It's the review I've always dreamed of receiving. I have to read it again. It's simply too wonderful. I have to experience this just one more time. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. It's not unendurable by any means, but there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait. How do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole?
No.
A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door, as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please. Please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button. Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
I don't think that he'll be back. I think he's going to the toilet, then makes him some dinner, and maybe smokes a cigarette, puts himself to sleep for a few hours, and after that he comes back. Maybe. So, what's your plans today? I mean, it's kind of boring, you watching me, watching him, waiting for him to come back, so that you can watch me keep playing a game where I listen to a narrator telling me what to do. Ich meine, ich könnte jetzt auch an seiner Stelle einfach anfangen, über Sachen zu reden. Über die Abwesenheit einer Tür, eines Raumes, den man betreten hat. Wie kam man in den Raum? Es hat ein bisschen was von Schrödingers Katze. Gleichzeitig am Leben und Tod. Man kann es nicht wissen, solange bis man die Box öffnet, um zu sehen, ob die Katze am Leben ist oder tot. Aber solange die Box verschlossen ist, ist die Katze gleichzeitig in einem Zustand von lebend und tot gleichzeitig. Letztendlich kann man das nur beweisen. Was Schrödinger damit beweisen wollte, würde ich euch jetzt gerne beschreiben. Allerdings kann ich das zu diesem Zeitpunkt gerade nicht im Detail. Ich kenne nur Schrödingers Katze. Das ist das Grundprinzip. Was das damit bedeutet, ist, dass etwas wahrscheinlich eben gleichzeitig Leben und Tod sein kann in einem Zustand. Ist so ein bisschen so auch das Prinzip, wenn im Wald ein Baum umfällt und niemand ist da, der es hört, macht es trotzdem ein Geräusch. Das sind diese Fragen, die uns beschäftigen in unserem Leben. Und man sich auch über den Sinn des Lebens versucht klar zu werden. Und zu sagen, warum bin ich? Warum bist du? Warum sind wir? Und können wir auch anders? Und wenn wir anders können, sollen wir? Dürfen wir? Oder müssen wir sogar? Oder auch nicht? Die Fragen, die man sich stellt, wenn man morgens aus dem Bett aufsteht und sich denkt, ein neuer Tag, eine neue Herausforderung. Der Weg zur Arbeit, lang, kurz, mit dem Auto, zu Fuß, mit dem Roller, Fahrrad, U-Bahn, Zug, Straßenbahn. Manche fliegen, manche gehen rückwärts, manche tanzen, manche springen Seil, andere gehen zum Sport. Dritte machen Bogenschießen, gehen zur Jagd, spielen Videospiele, lesen ein Buch. Jeder macht andere Dinge. Und keiner weiß wirklich, was ist das Richtige. Ich denke, man kann es nur für sich selber feststellen. Ist das das Richtige für mich? Und wenn ja, bin ich, was ich denke zu sein? Und ich denke, die Antwort darauf ist nein. Ich drücke jetzt mal den Skip-Button. Ich glaube nicht, dass er so schnell wieder zurückkommt.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room.
Yep.
Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times.
Das Spiel will, dass ich jetzt die ganze Zeit den Skip-Button drücke.
There's just you and
Aber ich mach's
button,
nicht.
and if you keep pressing it, I have
Lass ihn
no
erst
idea
ausreden.
what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it. And I have to believe, I have to know
Warum sind
that
zwei
sooner
Lichter
or
aus?
later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking and thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child, wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken, if only it pleases this one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an impulse serve? For whose benefit is this? And here I am now, stuck in a room, waiting for you to press this button, and to become frozen in time, knowing that you're going to do it, and that I'm going to be stuck all alone. that I had the power to prevent it all from happening if only I'd held my tongue.
We're caught in a loop.
It's all out of my control now. Just you.
Loop-de-loop,
Just your
loop-de-loop.
decision as to exactly when you're going to make me suffer, to leave me all alone. Surely you will. I don't doubt it. Surely you'll press that button again, leaving me here. And surely you'll put your own
you left
desire
me here
to see
last
what's
time.
next ahead of my need for company, for companionship. Surely you'll not be moved by my howls of fitful anxiety that you sit with me and just stay here. Oh, no, 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 I know you too well. You'll be leaving me. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as petulant as a child. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking, and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along?
Real and a fiction.
Yes.
In this game, you're kind of
Perhaps
fiction.
I've been scared this whole time.
But your voice
if
is
I
real.
stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us, and I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely here. I am a being. I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. The emptiness between us has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not a work of fiction. I feel as though I occupy space in this world again, and I have cast a shadow onto the wall. You see what I'm saying, don't you? You can see what this means to me. I'm so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next time. What a terrible dread it strokes in my heart
find a way out.
to think of returning to such coldness. Come, let us sit in silence together here for just a moment. Let us anticipate it. Let us welcome it. Let us not run from it.
Just for a moment. It's not silent. This fucking ventilator. It's not ventilator, the English word. I don't know what the English word is. But it's loud and annoying. And the clock. Und ein rotes Blinken. Und er wird nicht wieder reden. Das waren mal 12 Stunden, dann war es jetzt... Was hat er jetzt gesagt? Eine Woche? Das heißt, von 12 Stunden zu einer Woche sind ja knapp mal 14. Das 14-fache. Wenn wir jetzt vom 14-fachen ausgehen, dann sind wir bei einem knappen Vierteljahr, was wir jetzt springen. Sind wir mal gespannt, wie das Ganze hier in einem Vierteljahr aussieht. Here we go. Alles ist dunkel.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt like an eternity, for what I now know was far less. You see, it was a revelation for me. It was unlike anything I had ever known. It was a space without consequence, without action or outcome. It was divorced entirely from the question of free will that you and I have squabbled over for so long. There could be no one ending, no singular outcome of events, not if all events existed in the same moment. And I felt freed. I felt unburdened by the need to manifest a particular outcome into being. I saw that I could allow myself to exist along all timelines, and that each of them was simply a strand in the web of my being. It was incredible. The spaciousness, the equanimity of the moment, both singular and infinite. For the longest time, this was my experience. And then this moment passed, and the most unyielding fear I have ever known crept into my mind. And it is this sensation that I have been experiencing now for longer than I could have ever expected was possible. I have been waiting for you. Not that you might save me or do something to fix it, but merely to state for you the plain fact of this manner of existence. I wish you to feel afraid as I do, that perhaps one day this state of mind will consume you as well. Perhaps you will somehow, in some way, have to live as I do now, and I wish for you to know how excruciating it is, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the smallest moment of peace in the darkness.
Mm-hmm. Nothing more to say? Shall I skip again? Die arme Pflanze. Kein Mensch hat die gegossen. Du bist die ganze Zeit hier, du hättest auch mal die Pflanze gießen können, weißt du? Aber hier sich beklagen, dass du die ganze Zeit allein bist. Nicht mal die Pflanze kriegst versorgt. Eine Pflanze, weißt du, hier ist nichts in diesem Raum, um das du dich kümmern müsstest. Die Uhr läuft weiter. Ne? Sie ist stehen geblieben mittlerweile. Da hättest du auch die Batterie wechseln können. Ja, danke für nichts. Danke für nichts. Da überlässt man einmal jemanden. So. Damit hatte ich fast gerechnet, dass ab einem gewissen Punkt er einfach nicht mehr redet. Und jetzt auch nicht den Knopf so oft drücken kann, wie ich will, das passiert aber nichts mehr. Oh. Der Feuermelder ist an. Und die Uhr ist runtergefallen. Und der Ventilator läuft nicht mehr.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world, as though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all of our attention, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about any of this. I'm at peace with it. I am the calm center of gravity around which these perversions hurl themselves. I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse. They're the ones who are mad. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Yes. Yes, of course. They've been jealous of me this whole time. They are mired in fear and insecurity and cannot help but attempt to tear me down. What a sad state of affairs. When you read these reviews now, you can see it. You can taste the bitter resentment. And my, how good does it feel now to speak truth to these words, to finally allow these thoughts out, contained and managed for so long, neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think.
Und ihr erinnert euch, vor einer gefühlten Ewigkeit haben wir uns das ganze Schöne angeguckt, die Credits und das Spiel, die Memories von 2013 und.
Perhaps the state of their psychological being was in such tatters,
und jetzt sind wir seit einer gefühlten Ewigkeit in diesem fucking Raum drin, kommen nicht raus.
Perhaps it was this state that they sought some outlet through which to tear me down. This, you can see,
euch bleibt ja frei, das Ganze zu skippen nachher, einfach zu überspringen. Aber ich habe Zeit.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point.
Was tropft?
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Ich glaube, jetzt ist er wahnsinnig.
Is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Oh. Es regnet rein. Oh. Aber immer noch kein Ausweg. Scheiße. Das Dach ist eingebrochen, aber immer noch kein Ausweg. Deswegen lohnt sich sowas auch weiterzumachen. Und nicht einfach nur neu zu starten. Ah, Licht, Sonne, Schönheit. Eine Fliege sogar. Aber ich höre den Erzähler nicht mehr. Aha, atomar, okay. Ha! Schönheit. Ah, ist das schön? Das gefällt mir. Man sieht hier sogar Bäume und alles. Oh, alles zerstört. Oh, die schöne Natur ist wieder kaputt. Aha. Das klingt nicht gut. Gehen wir mal weiter. Aha, okay. Ah, ein Weg raus. Oh. Eine große Wüste. Ich fürchte, die Welt ist nicht mehr. Erzähler! Narrator! We're free! Finally! I mean, it's just a desert, but we're free! Laufen wir mal los. Oh. Aha! Ha! Und ich musste das Spiel nicht neu starten. Sehr gut. Puh, okay. Was geht denn hier ab? Putzfrau hat gekündigt.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ich habe jetzt ein bisschen den Faden verloren, was wir noch machen wollten. Wir wollten durch die rechte Tür nochmal da runterspringen. New Content. Das ist auch ein Trick. Oder?
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Du wirst mich nicht nochmal dahin bringen, weil es war für dich schlimmer als für mich, mein Freund. Schauen wir mal, was du machst. Ah, okay. Kein großes Blabla. Direkt zum Aufzug, okay.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Aha.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
More TSP, better TSP. Paradigm Shift, Synergy, Brick and Mortar. Synergy, das klingt immer gut. Das ist immer klingt wichtig. Aha, verschiedene Ideen, wie man das aufmachen könnte. Das Design des Logos.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Darf nicht in den Bus. So, gucken wir mal. Du hast dir richtig Mühe gemacht. Du hattest ja auch eine Ewigkeit Zeit. Ich find's nicht gut, dass du Türen hinter mir zumachst. Auch weiterhin nicht. Bürodekoration des Stanley Parable Beruhigungseimer. Der Knopf, der den Namen des Spielers nennt, der das Spiel spielt. Er nennt nicht meinen Namen. Wir können gerne Wette abschließen.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button, which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Mhm. Wer wettet? Wer geht ein? Nein, keiner? Okay. Also ich sag, der tut's nicht.
Jim. Sorry,
Jim.
I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Okay.
I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now?
Jim
If
from
so,
The Office?
then please step forward and press the button.
Of course. I am Jim.
Jim. Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Okay.
Jim. Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money.
Aber es macht ihm Spaß.
Let's take a break from
Hat
the
sich
Jim
verdient.
button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
Er hat sich's verdient. Er hat eine Ewigkeit allein verbracht, während ich geskippt habe. Muss man ihm auch was Gutes tun. Sei doch nicht so, der arme Erzähler.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually
Wäre auch eine
save me the
Option.
work of finishing this feature.
Steuergeräusch. Sprungkreis, unendliches Loch. Das ist natürlich auch gut. You heard Jim in the game.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Okay. Aber ich bin noch nicht fertig. Ich habe da unten noch Zeug zu erledigen. No Screenshots. Was gibt's hier noch? Ist jetzt echt anstrengend, das alles zu machen, nachdem man die Ewigkeit...
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Natürlich. Arsch.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
So, was haben wir hier noch? Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Ich nehme den Eimer mit. Das ist jetzt mein Eimer.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Was haben wir noch? Der Jump Circle, den kennen wir schon.
Let's bring the Jump Circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well.
Ja, klar, der war toll.
Oh wait, you already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the Jump Circle? Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Da komme ich raus. Was haben wir hier drüben? Immer noch mein Eimer. Das ist mein Eimer. Rim, Tap, Surrounding Area. Ach, das ist das nicht endende Loch.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Ja, kann ich jetzt machen, aber wenn nicht, dann kann es gut sein, dass ich wirklich neu starten muss. Und da habe ich ehrlich gesagt keinen Bock drauf jetzt gerade, weil bis hierher zu kommen war nicht einfach. Lass uns erstmal den Rest noch erkunden. Eine kostenlose und neue und einfache Trophäe. Pull the lever, receive your new trophy. No more steps. It just works.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the trophy will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Okay, dann nicht. Ich habe immer noch meinen Eimer. Mehr brauche ich nicht. Ich brauche nicht so glücklich sein als diesen Eimer hier.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Yeah, let's have a look. Can you find them? Can you find them? Can you find them? Oh, hübschi hübsch.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Alles gut. Yay! Mir geht's gleich viel besser.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Jump circle. This map. Free trophy. The button that says the name. Merch. Settings World Champions. Habe ich das schon? Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket habe ich. Office Decorations, Epilogue, Collectibles. Den Epilogue gucke ich mir jetzt an. Infinite Hold, E ist die Exit. Ah, das ist der, da geht's schon zum Ausgang. Okay. Da haben wir noch nicht hin. Gehen wir erstmal noch da oben hin. Dann noch zum Infinite Hold. Hier war es, glaube ich, lang. Ja. Gratis-Trophäe? Ach da, ich dachte, ich auch hochgehen können. Unendliches Loch und Einstellungsweltmeister. Hey! Ah! Toll. Kann ich nicht machen. Ich vermute, das ist das, was ich am Anfang gemacht habe mit der Uhr einstellen. Und wenn ich jetzt das nächste Mal komme, dass ich dann vielleicht ganz viele Sachen einstellen muss. Jetzt gehen wir zum Loch. Gucken wir mal, wie lange wir fallen. Wenn es zu lange geht, gehe ich eine rauchen. So, und... Hui!
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Den es bestimmt noch nicht gibt.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Warum?
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole.
So.
Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Also einer geraucht. Das ist doch eine Sauerei. Der hat alle seine Zigaretten einfach reingeschmissen. Das ist nicht mal gescheit entsorgt. Einfach ins Loch geschmissen. Toll. Toll, toll. Teleportation? Teleportation.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Sollen wir nochmal springen? Nein. Ja? Nein. Nein. Wird nichts passieren. So, jetzt gehen wir zum Ausgang. Einen Einstellungssimulator kann man ja irgendwie nicht spielen. Nein. Okay. Wo ist der Ausgang da drüben? Der zweite Teil wäre witzig, aber er war mit Sicherheit nicht so geil wie der erste. Deswegen bin ich mit so einem Erweiterungsding mehr einverstanden als mit einfach einem komplett neuen Teil.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yes, sir. Let's go. Let's go. Woohoo!
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Tja. Wenn ich jetzt starte, dann starten wir wieder, da wo wir gestartet haben. Vermutlich von ganz neuem wieder.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley.
Okay. Ja, mit Luftballons. Die Luftballons sind da. Schaut euch das an.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Fehlt nur noch das unendliche... Oh, der Eimer! Der Eimer ist da!
Picked up the bucket.
Ja, ich hab den Eimer. Ich hab den Eimer! Da ist der Eimer. Kann ich noch wieder hinstellen? Nein. Jetzt habe ich den Eimer. Ich hab den Eimer. Und ich laufe mit dem Eimer entlang. Lalalala.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Nope. Still not.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was.
Got the bucket.
How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
It is a very insightful bucket.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Nope.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Nope. He didn't. Es gab hier noch mal was ich machen wollte. Jetzt war die rote.
Stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point." Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's
No
true,
bucket.
well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Uh-oh. Is this a bucket?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Das hat einen Henkel. Das ist aus Metall. Es scheint hohl zu sein, ich kann nicht reinsehen. Es könnte eine Vase sein. Es könnte ein Glas sein. Es könnte so viele Sachen sein, aber ja, es könnte auch ein... Ich glaube, es ist
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket,
Ha!
not an actual bucket.
Siehste? Mindfreak. Mindfreak!
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Na, nee, das habe ich schon mal gesehen. Man denkt, weil man nicht auf die Details achtet. Und zwar, ihr müsst auf die Linien achten. 3 Linien. Und zwar nicht alle nebeneinander, sondern Abständen dazwischen. Das ist kein Bucket. Kein Bucket.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
So, auf die Details achten. Die Details.
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Das ist jetzt wieder wie beim ersten. Das ist nicht so einfach. Kann ich es ein bisschen näher, kann ich es näher angucken? Nee, nein? Okay. Zweimal nein, das dritte Mal wäre wahrscheinlich am ehesten ja, aber ich bleib bei nein.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
Ich hätte schwören können, das ist keiner. Ich sag doch zweimal nein, einmal ja. Ja doch.
Item 4.
Oh.
Is this a bucket?
Ha! Das kann ja keiner wissen. In Turkmenistan ist das ein Bucket. Bucket.
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an
Das
enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one.
Das ist ein Bucket.
Is this a bucket?
Turkmenistan ist das ein Bucket. Vielleicht will er mich nur reinlegen.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Ha! Danke very vielmals.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Nope.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Und warum? Das hätte mich jetzt noch interessiert.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly
Nothing
know
is a
that
bucket.
is
Nothing
something.
is
And
a bucket.
therefore nothing could possibly be something.
Nothing
Unless
is
in your
something.
twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing?
Yes.
Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
Yes.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I
We
can't
don't
that.
have a
I'm sorry,
relationship.
but I'm going to erase all buckets from the game
Nein.
entirely.
No.
Okay, here we go.
Nein. Nicht die Eimer löschen. Nicht die Eimer löschen.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket?
Ha!
Every single thing in the game was a bucket. My
Siehst du?
God, I had no
Siehst du?
idea.
Jetzt mal auf mich gehört.
Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel
Everything
much
else
more
is
at ease
was.
right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Okay. Also, ich höre jetzt an der Stelle auf. Ja, und so aus dem einfachen Grund. Das Spiel ist immer noch mega witzig, macht immer noch mega Laune. Aber es ist so ein bisschen jetzt gerade die Luft raus, weil diese lange Episode, dieses lange Ding und so. Ich find's cool. Ich find's wirklich cool. auch wenn es jetzt nichts ist, wo du die ganze Zeit nur am Lachen bist, aber es ist eine coole Idee, den Spieler dazu zu bringen, etwas Sinnloses zu machen oder auch nicht zu machen. Ähm, einfach nur so. Einfach nur, um den komplette Mechanismus von dem Spiel einfach mal komplett zu zerstören und zu sagen, hier, mach mal was Sinnloses. Was so total. Und ich glaube, dass Rezensionen, auch wenn die da drin vorkamen, jetzt, ob die jetzt echt waren oder nicht, keine Ahnung, aber dass das Spiel auch echt schlechte Rezensionen gekriegt hat, weil das ist nicht für jedermann was. Das kann ich mir schon gut vorstellen. Aber wenn das was für einen ist, dann ist das so ein grandios geiles Spiel. Ich glaube, das ist so ein typisches Spiel. Man liebt es oder man hasst es. Es gibt nichts dazwischen. Entweder du stehst auf das Spiel oder du findest es scheiße. Und ich liebe es bisher. Ist wirklich, wirklich gut. Ich dachte eigentlich, wir bringen es heute fertig. Ähm, Wie gesagt, hab ja euch auch kein Zeitlimit jetzt gesetzt gehabt, aber das waren jetzt doch ein paar Stunden. Und ja, ist einfach noch nicht fertig. Wir waren noch nicht mal im finalen Raum. Ich glaube, wir sind vorhin mal dran vorbeigelaufen, wo wir dann links abgebogen sind zum Escape Room. Aber ja, sind wir mal gespannt. Und ich bin gespannt, weil jetzt fällt es ja auf, jetzt ist das Spiel, sieht anders aus mit den Ballons und so. Das heißt, wenn ich jetzt das Spiel beende und das nächste Mal neu starte, wenn die Ballons noch da sind und vielleicht auch der Startbildschirm andere ist, dann weiß ich, dass das Spiel das alles gespeichert hat. Wenn nicht, dann ist es quasi jedes Mal wieder was Neues. Aber den will ich sehen, der das Spiel am Stück alle Enden spielt. Also da brauchst du Geduld für. Das ist auf jeden Fall. Gut, in dem Fall. Vielleicht guckt sich tatsächlich jetzt doch mal der ein oder andere diese Videos von mir an, aus dem ganz einfachen Grund, weil das Stanley Parable doch nochmal was ganz, ganz Eigenes ist und was extrem Witziges. Und ich denke, dass es vielleicht nicht ganz so bekannt ist. Ich weiß es nicht. Äh, Ist ja vollkommen egal, ob ihr meins anguckt, aber guckt euch das Spiel einfach generell an. Oder spielt es selber noch besser. Denn das Spiel ist bombastisch witzig. Und bringt einen zum Nachdenken über sich selbst und die Existenz des Seins. Und auch wenn es immer wieder creepy ist, Horror ist es keins, trotz allem. Es macht nur manchmal so eine Stimmung. Gut, in dem Fall wünsche ich einen schönen Abend, einen schönen letzten Vatertag und nicht letzten Vatertag, den restlichen Vatertag. 40 Minuten habt ihr noch, 41. Und für alle, die ein verlängertes Wochenende haben, schönes verlängertes Wochenende. Und ansonsten noch einen ruhigen Freitag morgen. Ja. Cheerio. Das ist das einzig Blöde. Ich muss jedes Mal. Jetzt ist meine Kamera ja schon abgeschaltet, aber mein Mikro noch nicht. Jetzt muss ich die Übertragung noch beenden. Und das hören dann die Zuschauer, die denken sich auch, Alter, was macht denn der da? Jetzt muss er auch noch Übertragung beenden. Bis er den Knopf gefunden hat. Ah, da ist der Knopf. Also, jetzt beenden wir die Übertragung. Und am besten nicht so, dass es mitten im Satz, sondern es einfach